Question 21. Will IU be able to recruit the state? I guess that goes into what I just said. That call I think was super important. Whether it's somebody who they should have gotten from a previous class hopping in the transfer portal or going forward, the relationships in the state of Indiana are already immeasurably better than they were with Woodson. I am not a fan of bashing people. One of the biggest criticisms of Mike Woodson was that he didn't have a great relationship with the state of Indiana, and it was really tough for him to recruit there. I don't anticipate that being the same issue, especially with the guys they brought in on staff and the connections they have. And then like bringing in a guy like and retaining a guy like Sicily shows that obviously they have some sort of connection or pulse or idea of how important these relationships in state are. So I do believe Indiana is going to be able to recruit the state. Obviously, there's not really an Indiana person or a heavy Indiana presence on the roster currently. Hopefully that changes a little bit when they give Leo eligibility, but it's super, obviously given the way basketball is thought of in Indiana. On top of the fact that you just want to recruit your state, if you're in any state, that it's going to be super super important. Question 22. Is the roster done? I think not. And I think they're going to add here's the thing. And I'll run this into another question I had. That should it matter that no one followed DDV from West Virginia? And obviously Tucker followed him. And there's 2 recruits out there that haven't committed yet. I think Hawthorne in the class of 25 and Don McClain's son as well. I don't think it's an issue that nobody followed DeVries from West Virginia. Everything happened so fast. You look at the way, like, he basically went to a team with no roster. It's hard to look at a kid who is thinking they're coming to compete for a national championship and being like, okay, give me 3 weeks to put together a team so I can sell you this. That being said, I'm not ruling out, like, I think, like I said, Hawthorne was West Virginia commit at one point. So I'm not ruling out that being an addition, or if there, like, it could be some late action in the class of 25. And there's still guys out there in the transfer portal. So I'm going to say no, the roster is not done, but I would be stunned if they went over 14. So we'll see. Question 23. Will the game at Rupp Arena be the biggest of the season? I've gone back and forth on this. Hold on. I'll hold that. What style of play can Indiana fans expect under Coach DeVries, and how different will it look from the Woodson era? I mean, it's going to look drastically different. We're going to, like, it just based on core principles. At Woodson, everything ran through the post, and with DeVries, it's like everything's going to be spread out. We're going to shoot a bunch of threes. So it's going to look drastically different as far as like specific like play styles and like what plays is going to call it. They're like, I'm going to save that deep dive for a different time, just because I didn't go, like I said, I dove through the kiddie pool, didn't go into the deep end. But like just in terms of roster construction, like they're smaller, faster. They're going to move a lot. They're going to shoot a lot of threes. And it's like polar opposite is what I'll say. Like, it's just like, imagine the Mike Woodson offense and just think about what could be completely different from it. And that's going to be Darren DeVries. Like last year, he didn't play a single guy over 6'8". So, and you talk about like the Mike Woodson Indiana teams are defined by double bigs, just completely different in every regard. But will the game at Rupp Arena be the most important or the biggest game of Indiana's season? If to me, it feels like yes, only because this rivalry is so important. It's been so long since these 2 teams have played, right? So in that regard, I do think it's a massive deal. You like the game is in Rupp Arena because Kentucky wouldn't travel to Indiana. But going into enemy territory, they play Purdue twice a year, every year. No, I'm with you, PK. Like that's a massive game too. But in terms of like the SEC being the dominant basketball conference now, like that this game's going to go a really long way in showing like where Indiana stacks as a team on the national level. And so, biggest game of the year, I guess I hope it's not, because that means they're playing in a lot bigger games, whether it's Big Ten tournament, NCAA tournament. Yeah, but is Purdue going to be ranked number 1 in February? If they're ranked number 1 in February, I'll change my take, but they're a good team. Listen, I'm not going to say Purdue is not a good team. They are, but Indiana plays Purdue twice a year, every year. They haven't played Kentucky since the Watt shot. Should be top 5. Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I'm never gonna downplay the significance of the Indiana Purdue rivalry. You're just not gonna find that here. So actually it's funny. My first Indiana basketball experience as a student, well, I guess I wasn't technically a student yet, but after I signed the dotted line, was the Thomas Bryant double foul game. If anybody remembers that one. And so like I saw a tweet this past week about like if OG Anunoby never got hurt, Tom Crean would have never gotten fired. And like my first time stepping on campus like in Bloomington was when I think Indiana beat UNC on the Carrier Dome or whatever it was when they played um, on the Warship. That's fine. SEC could be dominant conference in basketball. Big Ten is not dominant conference. Football, fair trade. I agree, but that doesn't mean Indiana basketball can't dominate that matchup. Personally. Then the last question I have, question 25. What are realistic expectations for this basketball season? Like, can you look at this team as currently constructed and like, is it fair to like assume they should win the Big Ten? Like, no. Like, can you look at this team the way they're currently constructed and declare them national championship favorites? Right? No, probably not. Right? Like we're going to be realistic, but at the same time, like I don't think this is just some team that's going to get pushed around on the boards. If you look at the way the guards rebound, if you look at their ability to shoot from outside, I think they're going to be a really hard team for teams to match up against. They're going to be deep. They're going to be efficient. They're going to be well coached. They're going to defend well. I think it's reasonable to expect that this is a team that can make the tournament as a like Jamie Jordan said a couple weeks ago. Like if they're a 6 or 7 seed with a chance to make a run, like yeah, I agree. Sweet 16 would be a great goal, but I also want to reframe it and be like, if this team makes the tournament, like that's an improvement from last year. If this team is a 6 or 7 seed or above, that's an extreme improvement. So I think like I obviously I wouldn't be expecting this team to be world beaters and be ranked number 1 in the country, but like I also don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that this is like the 22nd or 23rd ranked team when it's all said and done. So um, I'm really excited for this Indiana basketball season, and I'm really excited to dive a little bit deeper into DeVries and how I like see how he's going to try and use these guys and see how active they are on the trail, because like he's got an elite bankroll behind him, and that's one of the reasons why you take this job. So those are my 25 burning questions about Indiana football and Indiana basketball. If you feel like I missed anything, let me know in the chat. But yeah, that's what I got for this week. So I feel like I talked a lot. Obviously, flying solo was a little bit different, but I appreciate everybody hanging out, bearing with me. Obviously, follow us on Twitter at IndianaVOCFB. Check me out on Twitter at Alec Keyser. Check out Brad, who's enjoying himself in Europe, at Bradley_Loomis8. If you're not watching on YouTube, you can hop over to YouTube. That's how you get into the comments. But like, comment, share, subscribe. We appreciate the love. Appreciate everybody hanging out. And I'll be back with Brad next week for another episode of Indiana Hoosiers Live. See you guys later.